to the ashes. The spirits light up the night, looking down the edge of forever. So stop me or take my advice.
Now, from the Untold Radio Network, it's Untold Radio AM with Doug and Hajicek. Show your support for the Untold Radio Network family of shows and join in on the conversation by using super stickers and super chats on YouTube. Got a question you want answered? Ask it live via a super chat and get real-time responses from our shows, knowledgeable hosts, and guests. Help keep the Untold Radio Network shows running strong. We need your support. Send your super chats and stickers now.
All right, and we are live.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Doing good. A little smoky in here from the forest fires.
Oh, yeah?
Well, you didn't notice outside?
Everything's burning?
I'm talking about the air.
Yeah.
You didn't notice?
I mean, look at my skin. I never go outside.
Oh, my God. It's smoky outside.
Yeah.
Bad. Like it's bad. Like we would have a blue sky today, but it's gray.
Which is sad.
So apparently there's just literally hundreds of fires up in Canada.
Jeez.
Which the residents of Canada, it's not making a lot of sense to, because they're saying we've had a normal amount of rain, the humidity's good, the wind's not blowing. If you look at the weather map like I did the other day, and you literally, I was watching the Quebec weather map, and literally like 20 fires started instantly, 56, 60, 70, 80 miles apart. Just instantly. You can see the smoke rising. I mean, to me, it looks like arson.
Yeah, it's got to feel like that too.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, it's never, I don't remember anything like this before. Not like this, not on a regular. And of course, yeah, they got a narrative about it, but you just cannot start 20 fires instantly on a clear day.
No, you can't.
Doesn't happen. Not all exactly at the same time, spaced, 50 miles apart. Doesn't happen. Anyhow, so what do we got here? Enough of that. I just got back from a bike ride, by the way. I had something funny happen to me.
What happened?
Well, I'll tell you in a minute. So anyhow, but I was going to remind people there's many ways to listen to Untold Radio.
There is.
I mean, there's YouTube, Instagram, Facebook Live, YouTube, live. And then later on, you can listen on, Google, Apple, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Spotify, on and on and on, like
Never
almost
ends.
everywhere. Like if you want to listen to us at work. So I thought I'd get that out of the way. And I did bring my trusty bottle of crap, purple.
Your purple drink?
Purple junk, yeah. And a cup. So I can look civilized while I drink. Anyhow, and we're on Rumble now too.
Yes, we are.
That's
We're rumbling.
posted. It's not live, but it's.
No, it syncs. I think they start coming out. I'm going to say probably like 48 hours after it's here.
Oh, really? That long? 48?
Yeah, it's they're really slow to pull in all the content.
Gotcha. And we've got some new members of the Untold Radio Network. Did you want to do a shout out? I think we've got Charlotte J just joined.
Oh, awesome.
Did you want to do a shout out, or did I catch you with your drawers down?
A shout out
to some of the new members.
Yeah. Faster Man is a member. And then Charlotte J, you said?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what that means. Okay, so they're green. All you guys are green that are members.
Yeah, and Charles just donated $10, I believe.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Charles Smoke.
Thanks for all
Yeah.
the support.
No, we
Trust
do
me,
appreciate it.
it helps.
Yep, we do. So anyhow, moving on, we've got a really cool guest tonight. Who I don't think he's ever done a podcast anywhere. You cannot hear him speak anywhere. So it's been exclusive.
Which is crazy because he's got a radio voice.
He does, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. I don't. He does.
He should be doing
I'm
your
going to have him
job.
co-host next week. Anyhow, so we have John S. No, I'm going to maybe screw up his last name. It's Baranchok, I believe.
He'll correct us.
Is that right, Alex?
I don't ask me.
But,
I'm gonna butcher it even worse.
Okay, but John Baranchok, he's PH.D.
Yes.
And we will be introducing him formally at the bottom of the hour, and we're going to talk about ways to make your Bigfoot research more productive times 10.
Which is awesome.
Things like that. Yep. And how to mentally prepare for doing Bigfoot research. So there you go.
And then we got a new This Week in Bigfoot too, whenever we want to share that.
Got a new what?
This Week in Bigfoot teaser.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't forget about it, but I forget about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, there's so much stuff happening.
That's been crazy. And we have our first official shoot for Legend Meet Science on Saturday. It may spill into Sunday. I don't know. And we've got a little rain in the forecast, so that's always like, God dang it.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. And of course, we're going to be dealing with a lot of electronics. And you don't want rain.
No. Cameras and rain don't go together.
No, oh yeah, but all the other stuff too. It does not go together. It's not cool. It's not good. Anyhow, so my bike ride. So I took a little bike ride, right? But I keep hearing this like rubbing noise, this irritating rubbing noise. It's just like, and I'm like, you know me, I'm kind of anal. I pull over, put my kickstand down. I'm looking for it, and I can't see anything rubbing. I'm a bike mechanic. I don't see anything rubbing. I inspect it. Nothing's rubbing. So get back on. It's doing the same thing over and over. And it's one of those where it's something from the wheel. So of course I get off the bike, I lift the back wheel up and I spin it. Nothing. Get back on it, go, and here it was. After the third time I pulled over, it was a little. There's an air pump on the bike, and a little rubber cap, just tiny, came loose. That was just hanging there and dangling, then rubbing on the knobbies of the tire. That's it. But I felt like an idiot. Neighbors probably thought, what the hell is this guy doing? Riding 10 feet and getting
10 feet.
Well, whatever. You know what I mean.
Yeah, I know.
Whatever. What else we got? I got a whole bunch of stuff to go over, but we also have a new Legend Meet Science 2 link that I want you to post in the description or in chat, and probably both, so people can still get in on the, if they want to get in the credits, they want to support the science and get all the rewards, they still can. Kickstarter's long over. It was successful. We went over our goal, but it was still a minimum goal for us, very minimum. Yeah. So it's going to be tight. So any support people want to throw at it, we still need it. Trust me.
Yeah. So I'm dropping a link in right now.
Yep. I mean, it could be that last $100 that makes or breaks us, for science tests. And okay. Anyhow, did you see the new? And I don't want to play the footage. You don't need to, because it's better really just look at a still grab of the footage. But did you see the new footage the Pentagon released of a UAP over a military base? Did you see this?
No, I haven't had a chance to look at it.
It's interesting because they're saying there was this orb, And this was over, I mean, obviously this was taken, I think, during, was it the Iraqi War? I don't even know. But it's over in the Middle East. You can see the, the sand and whatnot. But what's cool is, that all this stuff is coming out.
Yeah.
And it's unexplained. They're saying the object is between 3 and 13 feet. And I'm like, oh yeah, like you don't know. And I would guess 3 foot. Looks to me about 3 foot in diameter.
3 foot, yeah.
Yep. So there's a photo, I think it's photo 1 I sent you. There's an inset in the left corner of a close-up, but there you see it. Right below the green line, right in the middle. You see that?
Yeah.
It's just it's just a sphere. It's nothing too exciting. But it's exciting because, the Pentagon has released it. They're going, we can't identify it. So here's what they write about it. They're saying the Pentagon and NASA are struggling, I bet, to identify metallic orbs that have lately been sighted around the world at more and more frequent intervals. The newly created all-domain listen to this crap. All-domain anomaly resolution office. Really? That's the name of the new NASA group studying UFOs.
Oh, wow.
AARO for
AARO.
Yep. And they're saying that these things are just flying just below commercial flight, altitudes. So they're not posing a danger, I guess. But I just think it's pretty cool. I've seen tons of these things. So I mean, if they're struggling to identify them, and I already know I don't know what they are, but I know they're real. This is like the one I had, literally it was by my head.
It was by your head.
5 feet away when I was on my deck. Broad daylight. Yep. I got video of it.
Yeah, you do have video.
Yep. And it's actually I just saw it. It's in the Paranormal Highway opening. They used my footage in the opening. Ron Meyer did of the Paranormal Highway show on Netflix.
Paranormal.
I didn't know it was in there. So it's cool.
That is super cool.
Yeah. So there you go. I don't care. I was just happy to get it out. I didn't know it was going to end up in the opening of a show, but that's fine. It's cool. I can guarantee it's real. I mean, it was parked by my head. I went to grab my camera, and the moment I swung around to get it, it took off for the clouds. And then I went out in the garage, where it's dark, to look at the footage. Came back out, and another one came right out of the water. Don't know what it is. Just know it was blacker than black. Yeah, it was cool. Okay, so now there's something really interesting came out. Put up photo 2. No? How in the hell is that photo 2?
What's photo 2?
Oh, okay. All right, well, we'll talk about this one then. It's fine. Doesn't matter. I know all this stuff. So this was a photo taken by a fashion model on a commercial flight. It's been verified that it's real. And this thing buzzed the aircraft. Apparently it was, and I've seen the video. This is I don't want to get in trouble showing the video, but this is as close as it gets to the aircraft. They're saying this is the clearest video of any UFO taken in modern times.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty incredible.
It looks like a stingray, kind of, right?
Yeah. Or a flying saucer, maybe.
Yeah, so you never know. Have your cameras ready when you're on the plane. I don't know what's going on. Seems to be a lot more. So enough of that. Throw on photo 3. This is really weird. Although the picture isn't, the picture is not impressive at all. But this is what they're saying. An international team of astrophysicists claim that these are mysterious structures at the center of the Milky Way. That these are actually objects.
These are weird objects.
Yeah, they're saying that's a still of these objects. I mean, to me, it looks like light, light trails. Right? If you
it does
look at the light and you move your hand really quick, that's what it looks like to me. But they're saying they're radial filaments They're saying they're slender, they're elongated bodies of luminous gas that potentially originated a few million years ago. Okay.
Wow.
So pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the weird. I mean, it's the coolest thing I've seen.
Yeah.
As far as in the, astrophotography. What do you think?
I've never seen anything like it.
No, it's cool. Looks like a fireworks show gone wrong.
It does. Yeah, it does look like
Yeah, it's cool. So who knows? We'll see. I'm sure more will be put out on it. It's a study that was just published on last Friday. Pardon my voice. It's humid again. All right. Did you know? Did you remember the VW buses?
Yeah.
You remember those?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, right. You do not.
I remember back in the day.
Yeah, okay. Well, maybe there were some on the road. But they have a new one out. But it's electric. Still a bit ugly, but it's still good looking, just like the old one. Bit ugly, but cool looking. I've always thought they were dangerous. Yeah, I mean, you can imagine getting in an accident because there's no front end.
Is that what Scooby-Doo had?
Yeah, no.
No, those were those.
No, I think that
suicide
was a Dodge van, but it was
Dodge.
similar. It was kind of a bus, but it was an early
Yeah.
Dodge van that had that very short front end too.
This is what they'd use for the remake.
Yeah, so if somebody wants to put in chat, what was the make of car the Scooby-Doo van was? Because I can't remember. I think it was a Dodge. But anyhow, so here it is. It's new. Apparently you can order one. And kind of cool. I don't know. I look at it and go, would I like one? I'm like, nah.
I love the color.
Yeah, just cool. That's what we call tarp blue.
Perfect. Yeah.
Tarp blue.
Go.
Or Mustang grabber blue.
Go Sasquatching with it.
Yep. I build bikes that color. I think it's cool. It's one of my favorite colors. Kind of a bright gray blue.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you know what to do, Alex, if you're out bike riding, right, like I was today, once in a while I get dogs charging at me and I usually ignore them. But if you're like walking and you get a dog charging at you, what would you do? What would you do?
What would I do?
Run?
Yeah, basically. I don't
run?
trust other people's dogs.
I know. But if it's, it's already mean. It's already coming at you. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Go ahead and tell me.
I mean, you got to run. What are you going to do? You're going to kick it? You're going to Jackie Chan it?
No, there was a new study came out. What you're supposed to do is stomp one of your feet on the ground, stand your ground, stomp one foot hard on the ground, and yell out, sit.
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 Wow.
Because apparently most dogs have been trained on that command. Most, like 99% of the dogs. And it'll either confuse the hell out of them that you're asking them to sit, or they'll just get confused. They'll walk away, or they might sit. But it's apparently the most effective way. And what you're talking about is running. That elicits a predatory response.
Yeah.
So they would attack you bad.
Yeah.
Just picture you getting pulled down. Yeah, that would be you.
By a wiener dog.
Yeah, a wiener dog would probably make you run. Oh my God! I remember one time I sent Joe. I knew there was this vicious little dog, just a little dog on a leash, but he had a really long leash. Because I had gone to their house one time as a friend of mine, and we had to drop something off. Say, Joe, go drop this off for me. And I knew he would run around the corner. I said, hurry up, we got to go. So I knew he'd run around the corner of the door and that dog would come after him. And I hear the barking and I see Joey running at high speed, just like you had mentioned.
Yeah.
Of course, the dog got right to the leash, just almost got Joe. But it was a little dog. It wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, ran the wiener dog.
Yeah, ask Joe about that tomorrow. If he remembers that. That was mean.
Eaten by a hot dog.
Yeah, I think it was like a Shih Tzu or whatever.
Oh,
Right?
even better.
Yeah. Anyhow, so take my advice, stomp your foot, yell sit, and
Yell
you'll be
sit.
good. You'll be good. Maybe.
Maybe. Because, you know, if they have an unchained big dog outside, they've put a lot of time into training it.
That's true. It's true. Okay, throw up photo 5. This is really a creepy new fish species. I almost said fish species.
The snakefish.
Yeah, well, no, I don't know. They don't call it a snakefish.
The
It's like an
snake
eel.
The snake
But
eel.
apparently this thing is a brand new species. Apparently it burrows beneath, the ground. It's discovered over in India. The fish is this olive-colored eel found lurking in the bodies and brackish and fresh water in India. And I'm thinking, it's horrible.
Good?
Huh? Does it taste good? I don't know. I'll get you one. It looks kind of bony.
Yeah.
Looks a little bony to me, but it's 30 inches long and apparently can burrow like nobody's business. Gee, I wonder why.
Is it violent?
Well, of course, everything's violent to you. Apparently it's related to the rice paddy eel. And I'm thinking, rice? This thing's swimming around the rice? And apparently when you get rice, you're getting some of this fish's poo. Traces of this fish's poo in your rice.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Another reason to wash your rice.
No, should I tell you what this is called? This is called a Pisodon ophis kalinga.
Oh, yeah, the kalinga.
The old Pisodon ophis kalinga. That's the name. That's the new name of this fish.
It's beautiful.
Okay.
I'm going to put one in the aquarium.
Yeah, and another fish or another animal, gucky. God, I call these gucky creatures. I mean, not real pretty, right?
No, yeah.
But they're pretty good size to be discovered in 2023, right? So another gucky. What?
Oh, I was just going to say, shows you what, there's a lot we don't know. We're still discovering
No,
things.
and for people who are listening only, this is like a long 30-inch. It looks like a snake with a big head on it. With a pointed snout.
No, we didn't know about it till now.
No. And another gucky creature is called the Fujian bamboo salamander that they just discovered. And not only did they just discover it, they've already decided there's only 200 of these things because they're cannibals.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they eat each other. Well,
they eat each other? That's not good for survival.
How many people do you think there'd be on the planet if we ate each other?
Not a lot.
No, there'd only be 200 of us humans. So there you go. Enough of that crap.
What else we got?
Let's see here. Oh, a new mammal was discovered. It's kind of cute. Yeah, it's kind of Alex cute. I think it's photo 7, I think, something like that. I don't know. I lost track. Yeah, that's it. I like the color of the fur.
It looks like a bat bird.
It's a bat. So apparently this was discovered, I think in China. There was a whole colony of bats, and they captured a few specimens with nets. I mean, that's how you do it. All of a sudden they look, and there it is. New species. It's got golden brown fur. And I know you think it's ugly, Alex. And I don't even know the name of it. They didn't even say. Oh, they did. It's called the Sereni's bent-winged bat.
Great. It's got bent wings, too.
Yeah.
Not even straight.
Yep. So, how deep do you think the deepest hole on Earth is, Alex? Take a guess. Just take a wild guess.
100,000 feet.
Okay, you kind of overshot.
Oh, really?
You overshot. Apparently, the deepest hole on Earth is still the Russian Kola super deep borehole which reached 12,262 meters, 40,000 feet. I mean, that's a long ways.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. A mile is 5,200 and some feet. So it's 10 miles. Damn near, 10 miles gone. So apparently that was created in 1989 after 20 years of drilling.
What are they trying to get? Salt?
No, I think they were just trying to do it so they could throw junk down it and see how long it took to hit the bottom. I don't know. They didn't say. It's just stuff kids do. Did you do that when you were a kid and start digging? See how deep you could dig?
Yeah, but I gave up after about an inch.
Oh man, I'd get. You see, you don't know me. When I was a kid, I'd rally all the neighbor kids, but we'd start digging, and I'd promise them they're going to hit China.
Yeah.
And I'm all convinced they're going to hit China, and we dug and dug and dug for days.
How deep did you?
I mean, we must have 30, 40 kids digging.
How many feet did you get?
Well, I don't know, but I'll bet you we got down 10.
10 feet?
Sure. Oh, easily. And then it was cool because then we put a couple pieces of plywood over it, and we had ourselves a
fort?
little bunker fort.
So
I saved the day by thinking of putting the plywood over. So we don't have to dig anymore.
That's beautiful.
But that was one of my early organizing missions when I was a kid. I was probably 5.
You got the whole neighborhood.
Whole neighborhood. Yep, digging. Yep. So imagine that. Okay. So, but they're going to drill a new hole, right? And they're going to dig for 457 days with new, modern new equipment. So they're going to beat the old record.
In record time.
Yep.
Is this what we're talking about, or did I just?
Yeah, that's it. That's the new setup to dig the new hole.
Wow.
New equipment. And
are they trying?
China's doing it. Yep. China's they're going to go and beat it.
Do you think there's oil down there, or is it just no?
I don't know why they're doing it. I think they're doing it just like when we were kids, just curiosity. Isn't that? I mean, that's what it should be.
Yeah.
Curiosity. What's down there? I don't know. We don't really know, but one of the things they did, there was a new paper published that they're claiming now there's mountains down there, way down, like 8 miles down. You'll hit mountains like Mount Everest, bigger than Mount Everest.
Yeah. Like
with air spaces, like it's a mountain.
Like Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Yeah, absolutely. Serious. And they discovered this with apparently echolocation or some kind of seismic activity. So you're going to hear more about this. There are mountains below us.
So I wonder if there's anything else down there.
But that's 8 miles down. So maybe these people know, maybe they'll hit some kind of big chamber. Which would be really cool. If you go down 10 miles, 8 miles, and you hit a big chamber where you could actually send guys down there and then they could fly around, maybe send a little craft. It's kind of like Journey to the Center of the Earth. Remember that?
Yeah.
Cheesy movie?
Yeah. Wait, is that with the dinosaurs?
I don't know.
Pterosaurs?
You're asking the wrong guy on that.
Come on.
I don't know.
That'd be so cool.
But you never know. Maybe there is, it could be the Hollow Earth. Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know yet.
I think we know, but the Chinese are going to find out, apparently.
Well, they're not telling us why they're digging that hole.
Going down 10 miles. Look like they're doing it right. I wonder, though, it's probably only going to be like a 3-inch hole.
They're going to send one small.
Well, obviously, the bigger diameter, the longer it's going to take to dig.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, they're going to send a little drone down there.
I don't know. All right, let's go to some clips. And this is just can play. Sound is good. This is another thing I want to talk about real quick. New guy came forward. Some of you have heard about this. Most people I've talked to have not. Guy comes forward as a whistleblower under the Whistleblower Act. He's got a bunch of documents with him. He goes to Congress. He said, "Here, we have a bunch of alien crafts. Not one, but many of them. And he turns over all the evidence to Congress because they're top secret. And now he does an interview, and this is the interview we're going to play. He does an interview. This guy has been vetted that he really did truly have all of these credentials, and he will not show the documents to anybody. People, where's the proof? The proof is at Congress. So go ahead and play it.
Sure.
Spacecraft from another species.
We do, yeah.
How many?
Quite a number.
You're kidding.
No.
What?
I thought it was totally nuts, and I thought at first I was being deceived. It was a ruse. People started confiding in me. They approached me. I have plenty of current and former senior intelligence officers that came to me, many of which I knew almost my whole career, that confided in me. They were a part of a program. They named the program. I've never heard of it. And they told me, based on their oral testimony, and they provided me documents and other proof, that there was, in fact, a program that the UAP task force was not read into.
Grush alleges the U.S. government has recovered non-human craft for decades. He's filed a whistleblower complaint saying he gave what he calls the classified proof to Congress and the Intelligence Community Inspector General. News Nation has confirmed David Grush's credentials and resume. We've not seen or verified the alleged proof he says he's provided to investigators. He says he can't show us the proof for national security reasons. He also tells us he's not seen photos of the alleged craft himself, but has talked extensively with other intelligence officials who have.
If you're right, if you're telling us the truth, everyone, the entire American public, has been lied to for decades.
Yeah, there's a sophisticated disinformation campaign targeting the U.S. populace, which is extremely unethical and immoral.
You are saying to the human race, for the first time, an official intelligence representative at a high level from the US government is saying publicly, we are not alone.
We're definitely not
amazing,
alone.
isn't it?
Absolutely, the data points empirically that
It's
we're
getting
not
real.
alone. Yeah.
Do we have bodies? Do we have species of
Well,
non-human?
naturally, when you recover something that's either landed or crashed, sometimes you encounter dead pilots. And believe it or not, as fantastical as that sounds, it's true.
Wow.
And yes, Paul, no doubt he's kept copies. He's the guy, I even checked him out. Super legit guy with a huge top secret clearance. But this stuff's getting real. Really real.
It is.
Yeah. Yep. Once the genie is out of the bottle, you ain't putting it back in. That's the way it goes with anything.
Yeah, right.
Go. Bigfoot's next, guys. Gonna be next. Predicting it.
Maybe with our doc.
Maybe, huh?
Maybe with the doc.
The doc. Oh, the documentary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Went over my head because I'm looking at my doc.
I know.
Doc.
I know. It's what the kids are calling them these days.
Gosh. Yeah. Okay, clip 2. Very quick. There's no sound, no needed. I just thought this was awesome. Just splashes this guy. And
He starts splashing them
they're just
back.
having fun. Yeah, it's just so human. That was cool. Nope. Clip 3.
I'm sorry.
It is fun. It's a fun clip. Clip 3. Sound is good. This is an F1 tornado hitting a car. It's in China. You see that back there's little stuff.
Wow. Oh man. He was lucky.
There was a small tornado like this right by our office. And I pulled up to the stoplight because I wanted to get home before the tornado sirens were going off. And I wanted to get home before this hit. You got kids at home, like you. So I'm I pull up to the stoplight. The tornado was right next to me, literally right there, sucking trees up. But it's a small, it's like a one step up from a dust devil. So it's big enough to suck leaves off trees.
Oh, of course.
And it's literally, I'm at the red light, the red light right when you first go out in front of the car wash.
Yeah.
And it's right there. And right off to the right, this tornado is sucking. So I go through the light. I take a right. I'm trying to, go away from it because I don't know what direction it's going. I don't want that to happen to my car. And I turn right, and then I take another right on 121st. And I meet the damn thing, halfway down 121st, and it cuts right in front of me. So, true story.
What's next?
Okay, next is something this is right after my heart. It is a $30,000, I want you to think about this, $30,000 RC car that some guy built. I don't know if he's planning on selling these things. Took him 2 years to build it. The detail of this is insane. Let me give it just before you show it. Even the little door handles, the button works for the door handle. It's got air conditioning inside.
What? It's got air conditioning?
Inside plays. The motors, pistons go. The fan goes. It has the real car. It's electric, but it's got the real car sound. It's a little, 65 Corvette or a 63 split window coupe. Anyhow, go ahead and play it. It's insane. Sound is good. Let's buzz our cameras up so it gets a little bigger. Hideaway headlight.
A little fuel in it. Yep, there we go. I know it's full because a little bit dripping out the bottom.
Wait till they show the interior.
But it works.
I think it's like 1/6 scale. Okay, now this is where it gets Look at the little door handle. Little button. It's got the little seatbelts that work. Steering column.
Articulating seats. You see the rear. Bluetooth speaker is located in the dash. 3 knobs on the dash are functional. Front lights.
Look at the brake and clutch pads.
Parking lights and dash lights.
Jeez.
And air conditioning. As well as a lighted license plate bracket light.
Okay. Crazy. What'd you do? Turn your camera off permanently, Alex? Just left? Did you go to Mars? Isn't that insane?
Yeah.
I mean, I like building little things, and I do all the time, little micro things. But I just tell you, I was aghast when I saw that. I thought, man, I'd like to hire that guy.
Oh, it's incredible. The detail, the lights.
Yeah. So that doesn't blow people away, even if you're not interested in miniatures. Okay. Number 5 is just doesn't make sense to me. How could anybody be in charge and piloting a giant cruise ship and not have the skills to dock it? Look at this thing. Go ahead and play it. Sound is good, but it's annoying.
Are you kidding me?
Just watch this. And I'm thinking, is a guy on a cell phone? What's he? That just starts crushing this other boat. And these people that just standing there, I'm thinking, man, you got guts.
Just right out of a bad
And
Hollywood
it just keeps
movie.
going and going and going. It's just pushing everything out of its way. Probably didn't hurt the actual cruise ship too much.
Yeah.
Other than a bunch of deep scratches, but I bet you this was $1 million mistake. No, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million. It just keeps going. Look at this boat in front. Jesus, just.
This way, get out of the way! This way! Get out of the way! What are you doing? Get the gas sideways now! Out of the way!
Okay, that's enough of that crap. We get the idea. And what are your thoughts, Alex?
I give that guy a promotion.
Yeah, nice docking job is all I can say.
It was great publicity.
So I don't know if you've ever experienced updrafts, but they do happen occasionally. I experienced one when I was a kid. I made a big parachute with my neighbor's G.I. Joe doll, right? He's right there. You get this I get this bright idea to tie a plastic bag in the, with 4 little pieces of string. We climb up on my roof of my house. He throws it off, but instead of falling to the ground, the thing got an updraft and it went straight up, never to be seen again, up into the clouds.
Straight up.
There goes your G.I. Joe doll. Anyhow, but these updrafts can take anything up. They can take a 10 to, so just go ahead and play this.
Okay.
What the hell? The trampoline just took off.
That's the trampoline.
OMG. Everything is gone. Here it comes. Here it comes. Come down, please, please, please.
Please come
down. Come down.
It's like just like Christine comes right back to his house.
Get it.
Yeah, you got to tie those down, don't you?
But when I was out in Hershey, Pennsylvania, at a big thing, we're all tenting, right? And there were a lot of easy up tents and a lot of tents. And literally easy up tents were just shooting straight up in the air, getting caught in these amazing updrafts. So I've seen it. Okay, clip 8 is really interesting because you're going to feel this. You're going to feel this with this sound. Now, this apparently was meant to be entertainment, but it drove everybody away. They were running. But it's like down in the infrasound range and in the, in the above 20 hertz and below 20 hertz. But this was meant to be entertainment. And you can actually, people were commenting in the comments that they could see the sound waves off of this. So I don't know what was going on, but go ahead and play clip 8. People are just like, I'm out of here.
Just like hitting them. I mean, it was
Quite a sound. All right, now that we've given all of our wonderful listeners anxiety, I couldn't resist putting that clip up. It's kind of cool sounding, but it's annoying.
Yeah.
You've never heard anything like it, have you?
No.
Oh my God. Thank you, Pete. Pete H has donated a nice sticker to us.
Oh, thanks, Pete.
Thank you. Okay, almost done. We're about ready to bring John on here. No sound, please, on this. But I just thought it was a cool clip, only because I'm looking at this going, is this real? Go ahead and play it. No sound.
It's supposed to be a monkey?
Yeah, it's just a monkey, but look at the hands and the way he diligently opens his zipper up. Digging in looking for some good to eat or some contents. He found something. But the hands are so amazing. But it reminded me of a Jeff Meldrum story where he thinks it was a Bigfoot because it opened his pack. I think it's unzipped it and then zipped it back up. And all it took were some oatmeal packs. That's it.
Yeah.
Middle of the night.
There's a Bigfoot getting the oatmeal packs.
Yeah, there it is. And that's why I remembered that. And that's why I put this clip in there. It's a great story from Jeff Meldrum.
Yeah.
So apparently it zipped the backpack back up. clip 10 is a Bigfoot story to warm us up for John. And you can play it. The sound is great. And she's just going to tell this quick Bigfoot story.
Concerning Bigfoot evidence the government is hiding from us. The one I saw had black
I don't know why she
sclera,
says
the white part of
government's
her eyes, and cheek pads like a male orangutan. It was not a man in a suit. It threw rocks at me as I hiked a path towards a small waterfall, and I was a little confused but oblivious. The last rock was bigger and hit me in the calf and hurt. I spun around quickly towards the direction it came from, yelling, "That really hurt," thinking it was somebody messing with me, and saw a head from the eyes looking up over a fallen tree or ridge maybe 15 feet away. It looked like an orangutan wearing a ghillie suit. I looked in the eyes for maybe 5 seconds trying to comprehend what I was looking at. Golden brown eyes with black sclera and cheek pads like a male orangutan. It didn't look malicious really, had more of an okay, you got the point look. It casually turned its eyes away and ducked back behind the tree or ridge.
Wow.
So was that a sincere thing? I don't know. Sounded pretty sincere to me, but who knows? The cheek pads, I've heard that a few times. Not many, but a few. You know, and I've long suspected because of the reddish-brown coloration that either these creatures or some of them maybe are related to the orangutan.
I can see that.
Yeah. So was that the first time you heard about cheek pads?
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. So go ahead and I'm curious whether you guys think that was sincere in chat.
Yeah.
I really am. I really want your opinion in chat.
So while they're discussing that, should we play This Week in Bigfoot? And
yeah, let's do that. But let me intro it. This is touted as literally the fastest 30 minutes in the cryptid world. It's Brendan Brown puts this out along with his group, but it is really good, and it just kind of summarizes everything that's going on in the world of Bigfoot. And I really recommend it that people go and check it out. New shows drop every Friday, so go ahead and play it.
Perfect.
Yep.
This Week in Bigfoot, the only news show that scours the internet and the Bigfoot community to bring you the fastest half hour in the cryptid world. From researcher news...
Honestly, I was surprised to see Ketchum still around.
...to sighting reports and evidence claims.
We know nothing about its backstory. This footage would be very easy to hoax.
To the latest podcasts and Bigfoot live streams.
That's Bigfoot evidence. Earlier in the podcast, I mentioned Bigfoot.
These things are clocking the mayor.
Nothing to do with Sasquatch, Bigfoot, and Wild Man.
Looks pretty sciencey to me.
And it's making headlines. MK Davis recently released his latest improvement right here. It seems to reason that one would get caught on a camera. On This Week in Bigfoot. On the next episode, looks like Tom's getting the band back together. And this time, Biscardi and company try their luck with the Oran Pendek and the people of Thailand. Bigfoot sightings and fear, what exactly is going on here? Mike Lucci's done the research and explains why things might not always be as big as they may appear. Snowwalker continues to roam the back roads of Maine in the latest 2 Minutes With, and Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum heads to Utah to investigate Bigfoot sightings in the land of the Skinwalker. These stories and a whole lot more this Friday at 8 on the next This Week in Bigfoot, only on CARC Universal. Be there.
Hey, Untold Radio Network fans. Want exclusive perks and to support our channel? Introducing our YouTube membership program with 3 amazing levels. Get loyalty badges that level up to different cryptids the longer you're a supporter. How cool is that? You'll also get access to custom Bigfoot emojis and priority in chat. Upgrade to Backstage Pass for exclusive wallpapers, photos, status updates, discounted books, and merchandise. Go all in with the producer level for everything mentioned plus member shoutouts. Ready for an enhanced experience? Join now, pick your membership level, and let's make this journey even more exciting together.
All right. Should we get John on?
We're ready to bring our guest on. And I was gonna, because I don't think I've ever seen the disclaimer thing, but what that is for, so you all understand that if I have a guest on, right, if we have some guests, doesn't mean we agree with everything they say. Doesn't mean we disagree with anything they say. It just means they're them, we're us, But we want to present as many things and opinions as we possibly can. So we're not going to filter anything for you. That's up to you to like it or not like it or agree with it or whatever. It's not up to me. It's not up to Alex. So that's what that's for. And I'm not going to ever talk about it again, but I wanted to mention that. So if you don't agree with our guest, it doesn't mean, that I agreed, and that's why I put them up. But it's to get information out to you that you may like, and you may be craving. And it's good to hear other sides of the coin,
Be open-minded.
It's good for me. It's good for everybody. Yep. With that said, I don't know if I'll agree with anything John Baranchok has to say, but I would imagine I will. But anyhow, so let me read his background because he's very new to the podcast world. First up, I was just going to mention he has a really cool book out, and we'll talk about it here as soon as I introduce him. Do you have something on his book, Alex, you can show after I introduce him?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. So John Baranchok, he's professionally has extensively worked in neuropsychology. Okay. So he received his PH.D. from Texas Tech University. John has had a lifelong love affair with fishing in the forest, which obviously, it's how you kind of get interested in the Bigfoot mystery, is my opinion. So after he settled in Georgia, he attended a Bigfoot expedition in Georgia and then in Tennessee with the BFRO. He then also went on a KB RO expedition, and these experiences inspired his book, Psychological Horizons and Scientific Bigfoot Research. Okay. After a bout with some serious health issues, he hopes to continue his expeditions, with these groups. He said he is extremely honored and excited to appear on tonight's show with Doug and Alex. And of course, this is going to be his first appearance. Other podcasts are going to ask him to come on. So I'm honored that he said that. That was cool. Thanks go out to some, he said thanks go out to them. Okay, that's us. His mentors and all those attending tonight. So he's thanking all you people that are watching and in chat. He also wanted to give a big shout out to Lori Wade of the BFRO, Charlie Raymond, and C. Wayne Tothrow of Manimal Research. So let's welcome John to Untold Radio AM. And there he is.
Hey,
John. It's good to have you, man.
Guys. Thank you.
So that was really touching, actually, and I read it just like you sent it, and I appreciate it.
Sure, my pleasure. I'd also like. Go ahead.
Well, go ahead, John. Go ahead.
I don't have Wi-Fi hookup at my home, so I'd also like to thank the Williams family in Rome, Georgia, for letting me steal their library.
Oh, good. It looks really nice too. I swear to God, I can see a Bigfoot book back there.
Bigfoot poster, yeah, they're Bigfoot fans. Yeah,
I see it.
Perfect.
Also want to give a shout out to Jennifer Arnold, who was nice enough to donate $2, and we appreciate it.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Big time. Okay, so anybody has questions for John as we go, put your questions in caps, and I'm sure John will do his best to spot those. Do you have your comments open, John, so you can see the
Yes,
chat?
I do. Yeah.
Cool. And then I just want to say before we dig in here, John, I do have your slides ready. So whenever you'd like to throw them, anything from, just let me know.
Call them out whenever you want.
I think that'll depend on where Doug takes the interview.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want you to know we're ready.
And I'm only going to go by my curiosity, but in perusing your book and reading as much as I could, you have a whole different. It's really interesting. You have a whole take on on the researchers and the research that you witnessed, I think, which is probably what inspired you. It's maybe a little frustration possibly. So why don't you get into that? I mean, what really inspired you on those BFRO expeditions and the other ones that got you going, hey, I need to write a book?
Sure. Well, as a psychologist, we go through scientific training and use the scientific method as part of our research work. And the expeditions that I was on certainly followed that scientific method to a certain degree, but the scientific method seemed to end with a hypothesis or a theory being generated, but then that's kind of where things ended in terms of testing the hypotheses formally with experimentation, and then doing statistical analyses of the data, and then reproducing that experiment in other settings and in other ways. That wasn't happening. So I saw we weren't really coming full circle with the scientific method to gain the advantages of doing that kind of research and benefiting from it by being able to increase our Class A and Class B hits. So that was certainly one factor.
Okay.
A second factor was our bodies, for better or worse, are bias generators because of the nature of our central nervous system and our autonomic nervous system, which controls our fight-flight response. We're naturally set up to be biased in our observations. And that is because our perception is just that. It's not raw sensation, it's perception. And our perception is informed by our life experience, our education, what our parents, the values parents have taught us, the morals and mores of our society. And so all those things go into our perception. So, for example, if I reach down and I pick up a log out of the fire, from the millisecond that I touch that hot piece of wood, electrical chemical charges are sent up our arm into our spinal cord, and just before it hits our brain, that's called sensation. That's raw sensation. We think of pain as raw sensation, but in fact, the millisecond it hits our brain, that's perception. We perceive that pain, and our perception by nature of what it is has the potential to bias us, because perception, again, is informed by our life experience and history and learnings. And so all those things come into play into our perception, be it tactile, visual, auditory, things of that nature. And so that increases the risks of bias in our field work. And in my book, I try and give some examples of how that happens and some remedies for that situation.
Okay, what are some of the remedies? Because you know where I see a lot of bias, just as me as just kind of a layman, I see it in photo analysis. Where somebody has taken a photo of the bushes or of the trees, and there's a dark shadow in there, and it may look exactly like a Bigfoot, but they're so biased they think it's a Bigfoot. And I don't blame them that they captured something, and I'll look at the photo and I'll really dig into the blacks. I've got equipment I can really dig in and say, oh, that's just a burnt stump, or it's the way the light was playing. But is that same thing happening out into the bush? When you're
Yeah, I think so. I think for you guys, it's going to be 28 and 29 might be applicable here.
Okay.
So Boy, I've lost my train of thought here.
Well, we were just talking about, the bias of photos.
Photos. Thank you. So, if you go out on an expedition and you haven't had a Class A experience, the best way to convince yourself that there was a Bigfoot present, and I've done it, I've seen lots of researchers do it with their camera. They take the camera or their video film and they do a 360-degree pan of the area that they were just researching in, taking continuous pictures along the way. And because of effects like pareidolia, whereby we perceive things to kind of make sense to us, invariably when you look at that picture, that's going to certainly increase the likelihood that you're going to perceive a Bigfoot in those photos, whether there was one there or not. So our brain, when we see something ambiguous or something we're not certain of, it wants to, that's called dissonance. We need to try and make sense of it. And so our brain will force us and push us towards dissonance to resolve that discomfort that's associated with that dissonance. And we'll see things in the photos that may, in fact, sometimes could be Bigfoot.
Yeah, of course.
But oftentimes are not Bigfoot. And this is where that slide would be helpful. Charlie Raymond was nice enough to provide.
He had mentioned slide 28, 27.
Slide 28.
Yeah, throw slide 28 up.
Got it. Let me jump to that. Okay.
There's two. One that's just blank, and the other where all the Bigfoots are circled.
Yep.
Oh wow! Yep, I can see them. If you
back
go ahead and click back and forth.
Okay, so I don't know how well the audience can see this. Again, thank you to Charlie Raymond for this. But if you go back to the blank one where things aren't circled, just take a close look. And we kind of gave it away because we showed the circles already. But take a close look and see where you can find Bigfoots in each square, or if you can find Bigfoots in the square. If you look close enough, it appears that there are Bigfoots in this picture, multiple of them. But when we go to the next slide, those circles there, that's where things look like Bigfoot faces. But in fact, there isn't a single Bigfoot in that picture.
Yeah.
That's all the effects of pareidolia in the forest.
Yeah.
And so I think this is just an awesome example of how the process of perception and how our perception is biased. We're out there in the field looking for Bigfoot. And so we're filtering our visual and our auditory perception through that perceptual or biased screen, if you will. And so when if you look hard enough to find something, you're probably going to find it, whether it's there or not.
Well, what I try to do, John, and I really do, every time I get a picture like this, I try to educate people. I'll say to them is, set your standards higher. If you don't see a creature moving, if it isn't video and it's not moving, right, chances are whatever you're doing is, or whatever you photographed is worthless. Mm-hmm. If it's video and it's just something, just a shadow, and yes, pixels just kind of shift and move, and you can say, well, and they'll say, well, you can see the eyes moving. Well, no, you can't. It's just shifting, lighting and pixels. But if you can provide me a photo that's Nat Geo quality, where you can really see it and it's out, not covered by sticks and brush, then that would be something totally different. That's a good thing.
Sure.
But don't you agree, John, that one of the ways is just to set your standards higher when you're out in the field?
Yeah, setting the bar higher, I think certainly helps. Part of the reason I talk about phenomena like pareidolia in my book, however, is if you're not aware of a psychological process going on, you certainly can't compensate for it and try and figure out if it's going on, even if you set your bar at a higher level. So I think picture or slide 27 or 26 for you guys. I'm sorry, I don't have my slide numbers in front of me.
No problem. Is which one is it, John? Is it
just describe it?
The picture of the burning building.
Okay. Here. Yep. Do you see it? I see the face. Is that what?
Yeah. This is another example of pareidolia. When this picture was put out, many Orthodox religions signaled that it was the beginning of the end, and that this was the devil coming through in this fire.
Yeah.
The next slide.
The faces on Mars.
Faces on Mars. Again, when you look, it looks like there really are faces up there, but there are no faces up there. That is just pareidolia, visual pareidolia.
Yep.
If we go back to slide 25.
See, and John, I want to interrupt you just for a second to let our audience know that by no means is John he's not a skeptic when it comes to the Bigfoot mystery.
Yes.
He's very much believes they're probably real.
Yes.
He's just wants everybody to, we're going to get into a lot of topics, but his goal is to set your standards high.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
You just think that we can do better as a community.
Well, I think in terms of doing better, we need to educate ourselves through understanding psychological processes like we're discussing, because you can't, if you don't know of the process, you can't determine whether and figure out whether it's going on, and therefore you can't compensate for it. So if you don't know it, you can't compensate for it, and it's more likely to influence your perception.
So true. Amen. Go ahead and put that one picture up with the vase. The
vase, yes.
Yeah, the vase.
Vase.
The vase.
When you look at this image, this is called figure ground phenomena. What do you see? Some people see a white vase. Other people see two faces, profile faces of two people facing each other. You seeing that? Well, what the heck?
And what is it when you see both right away?
Well, I think that's a good thing. I think that's good. Usually, and whether you're seeing them simultaneously or not, I think is an interesting question. Frankly, when I look at it, sometimes I see the vase, sometimes I see the faces, and kind of switch back, alternating pretty quickly.
Yep, that's what mine does.
But what does this have to do with Bigfoot research? Well, I'll tell you, out in the field, there's been many a night where we hike out onto the trail. It's a well moonlit night or a bright night, and we sit and we stare at the top of a ridge. And we're looking through the trees. And as you're staring at the top of the ridge, looking through the trees, this phenomena can factor in largely. Sometimes the trees are going to represent the ground, and the space in between the ground being the faces, and the space in between the trees where you can see the sky through it, that's going to represent the figure. But just like it can switch back and forth here as we look at it ourselves, the figure can become the ground and the ground can become the figure. And so this increases our likelihood of misperceiving a Bigfoot that's not even there.
Right.
I can't tell you how many groups I've been in where there's been multiple of us looking up through the trees like that. And some people see it and some people don't. And I appreciate your point that I'm not a disbeliever in Bigfoot. You know, I firmly believe in Bigfoot, but I feel like we've got to increase our awareness of these kinds of phenomena to be able to figure out, in fact, is that what we're seeing? Or is it actually a Bigfoot head or a Bigfoot body in between the trees on the horizon?
Well, how can somebody, besides photographic evidence, are there some things a person can do out in the field to set their standards higher? I mean, what advice would you start giving? So it'd be nice to hear some advice at this point.
Out in the field when you're already there or before you go?
No, when you're already there, you're already out in the field. You know, what is something that can be done that puts your brain into not seeing shadows?
Okay. A couple things come to mind as you ask that question. One of the things, there's something called after images. And I'm an old fart. And back in the day when you would take a flash photograph, they had the big bulbs that you would get blinded by.
Yep.
But in getting blinded by it, if you've ever had that experience, you've probably noticed that you continue to see that light flash or that bulb in your vision even after the flash goes off. That's called an after image. Now, in most of the groups that I have been a part of, we put red hot headlights. We put a red light on our head. So because if you use white light and you go through the woods with a flashlight and then you turn your flashlight off, it can take up to 30 minutes for your eyes to adjust so your night vision is completely restored. Where with a red or a green light, that restoration of your night vision is instantaneous. So most people seem to favor the red lights. But, and again, I'm not saying that Bigfoots don't have red eye shine. I've sat at a base camp and watched 20 or 30 juveniles with red eye shine pop their head out from behind it, play peekaboo, pop their head out behind a tree, pop it back in, pop it back out the other side. So again, I do believe Bigfoots produce red eye shine, but the flip side is it any wonder that we're seeing sometimes seeing red orbs, sometimes seeing fleeting red movements? We're walking through the woods most of the night, looking at red light all night. And that red light in and of itself can become an after image. And that's why it's important. That's why it's important.
Interesting.
That's why it's important to stick with it. Turn off your red light. Confirm that what's there is there and that it stays there or it repeats itself over and over again. Certainly staying calm. And that's oftentimes easier said than done, especially in a Class A experience, which I have not personally had, but I've interviewed and talked with a lot of friends that have. And staying calm is a difficult thing to do. I don't know if I should tell this story or not.
Yeah, you should.
You should.
You don't have to give names.
No, I won't. I promised I never would. But 4 very experienced Bigfoot researchers, all of which had Class A experiences, were walking down a trail. One forged ahead, and they were resting on the trail as the other guy forged ahead. And as they were packing up, getting ready to walk down the trail, a big old Bigfoot stood up from behind some bushes. I can't say for sure the distance, but it was a very close sighting. The Bigfoot was undeniably a Bigfoot. They could see vivid detail of the Bigfoot. And the guy who was telling me this story, he said, "John, I'm going to tell you this story because I know you'll keep it confidential by keeping my name out of it. And when I tell people this story, people always ask me, why didn't you take a picture?" And he got beet red in his face, and he said, "John, when all 3 of us saw this Bigfoot, we pooped and peed our pants." All 3 of us. And John, when you've pooped and peed your pants, the last thing you think about is taking a photograph. And so that pooping and peeing your pants is an example of the fight-flight response that's hardwired into our body, and it's involuntary. It's not something we normally control in our life. But the good news is you can learn how to recondition that fight-flight response and stay calmer in these situations, be they Class A or Class B situations. When you're calmer, you're going to be less likely to misperceive what's going on. Your bias is going to be less likely to kick in. So remaining as calm as you can when you're out in the field, I think, is another thing that you can do. Certainly going out, I encourage at least groups of 3, because one person will look at Kentucky bluegrass and say it's blue, one will see it as green, and another see it as Kelly green. When you've got 3 people, you got 3 sets of eyes. And so by working in a group, you can confirm or deny what each other are perceiving. And I think that can help with objectivity as well when you're in the field. The place that my mind immediately went to when you said that, however, is a little bit more complex to do. And that is record your data and then do a statistical analysis of your data, because the numbers are going to be less likely to lie than our auditory, somatic, or visual sensation. But that boils down to taking detailed notes and coding them into a computer and doing a statistical analysis. So that's not practical to do when you're out in the field.
Can you explain the doing some type of statistical? Can you put it into the real world for our listeners?
Sure. So one of the experiments I lay out in my book is comparing tree knocks to stone clacks to howls or whoops. Phenomenological or experiential field work has already taught us that none of those things cause a Bigfoot response. We commonly talk about how, I hit a tree and it caused the Bigfoot to respond with a tree knock. For a relationship to be causal, there has to be 100% relationship between the behavior and the response. So if tree knocks truly caused Bigfoots to respond with tree knocks, when we're in an area where we know Bigfoot live, every time we make a tree knock should come back from the Bigfoot. So there isn't a causal relationship between tree knocks, stone clacks, or whoops. Sometimes they respond to them, sometimes they don't, and there may be some regional differentiation.
Right, but to be clear and clarify, just because it happens sometimes and doesn't happen others or whatever, doesn't mean it's not a Bigfoot answering that tree knock. Correct.
Exactly. Yes. And that's where this study is helpful. So go to it. So you take 3 different areas. One area where you know Bigfoots live, a habituation area. One area that's a transitional area. And another area you go to where there shouldn't be Bigfoots. Times Square in New York City. Okay?
Yep.
And you make 50 knocks in the habituation area, 50 knocks in the transitional area where Bigfoot may or may not be, and then 50 knocks in Times Square. And when you do a statistical analysis of in comparing the test results, how many knocks you get back, you better not be getting the most knocks back in Times Square. You should be getting the most knocks back either in the habituation area or in the transitional area.
Although I have a feeling if I did it in Walmart, I'd get some returns.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Had to add that.
So to get back to comparing tree knocks, stone clacks, and whoops, let's say you go into the field, you let things simmer down for a bit, 15, 20 minutes, you're just sitting there in silence, and then you make a tree knock. Something may or may not happen. You let things simmer back again, you make a stone clack. You may or may not get a response. If you get a response, though, how do you know if you're getting a response to the stone clack or a delayed response to the tree knock? You can logic and reason that thing through, but there's no way to know that with certainty. So then you try the whoop or the howl, and you see the response that you get. Well, and in one location, you may get responses from the stone clack. But again, you don't know if that's a delayed response to the tree knock or an actual response to the stone clack.
I like it.
So the next place you go to do that research, or the next site where you do that research, you do what's called counterbalancing your stimuli, counterbalancing your provocations. Now you start with the stone clack, then you move on to the whoop or the howl, and then you move on to the tree knock. At the next place you go, you start with the howl or the whoop, you move on to the tree knock, and then the stone clack, so that you're systematically alternating the order of the provocation to eliminate delayed responses, random responses, and a bunch of other types of error.
I think I understand.
In that, so that then when you compare the group where you did tree knock, stone, whoop to the group where you did stone, whoop, tree knock, if in both cases you get the most responses to tree knocks, then you can increase your certainty that in fact they're responding to the tree knocks rather than either of the two. And then that third variable can enter in there as well. Does that make sense to y'all?
Yeah, a little bit. You got to remember, I want to tell everybody in chat, I know enough about this guy. He's a genius.
No.
So, if you feel a little confused, he would make other geniuses be confused. Because you are brilliant, John.
Well, thanks. But
and I love the way you think, and I really do like the way you think. And maybe I could throw a scenario to you and ask you, what would you have done had you been there? How about that?
Well, sure. One thing, if I can butt in,
sure,
just to let everyone know how brilliant John is. There's no lights on in the house, in his house, right now, in his buddy's house.
There isn't.
That's how bright he is.
No.
Oh, I got you.
I got you. No.
Okay. Nice joke going right over my head. Zing.
You need to tell him how you had to hold my hand through every step of this social media thing to know how smart I am. I can calculate a t-test by hand, but logging into a podcast is simply beyond me. So I want to thank you guys for holding my hand through that process.
No problem.
We all have our little areas of expertise. Okay, sure. So John, I'm going to throw a scenario at you.
Okay.
So I'm up at Snowgrove Lake in the middle of nowhere, and I was up there with my daughter, first time ever to bring a young kid up to this outpost. It's dangerous to bring kids to these outposts because there's no medical. There's no phone. There's nothing. You get into trouble, you're on your own. So we were coming out of a lake, and my daughter was making monkey sounds because she said it helped her catch fish. We're coming out of a stream, actually. But there was a tree knock right next to us, unprovoked, literally unprovoked. And I just we cut our motors and we're all like, ooh. So for the first time up at Snow, we did a tree knock. We go back to camp, wait till 2 a.m. Big guy from Ukraine does a tree knock, really perfect one. And we get an answer back within 15, 20 feet. You should have seen everybody turn white.
Mm-hmm.
It happened within 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So you're in there. Okay, so now you're by the fire with me. What would your advice be right then? What's your next move, John?
Boy.
Yeah, it's a toughie.
Wipe my underwear.
Yeah, because it did almost. You should have seen the look on the skeptics that were with us.
Yeah. Well, if you're willing to risk, if you go out there and try and locate it, you're going to scare it off. I think some people would advise you, and I think it might not be bad advice, to then alter the cadence or the number of tree knocks you're doing. So if it responded to one tree knock, you did one tree knock and it responded back to one tree knock. I might do another single tree knock again and see if we get that same response to confirm or deny that they're responding to a single tree knock. Once you get confirmation that they were responding to a single tree knock, then maybe throw in 2 knocks and see if you get either a single or a double response to the tree knocks. And, I've read some, I haven't personally experienced it, but I've read some accounts where people have did this, and it almost became like carrying on a conversation with the number of tree knocks going on.
Well, I kind of did that, but not with tree knocks. What I chose to do was to the youngest member that was by the fire. I said, pick up a small stone at your feet and throw it in the direction, underhanded, at the direction of the tree knock. To something totally different. because like I said, this was 15, 20 feet away, this return tree knock. So we knew whatever did it, was right there. So she did. She threw an underhanded stone, and one came right back. Another small stone, very non-aggressive, landed at our feet. And we continued that for a long time.
Good idea. Good idea. Absolutely.
But it wasn't scientific, and I was so caught off guard. Do you follow me? I felt like an idiot, like a total idiot. This is all I can think of.
Yeah.
And I still do. I think back and I think, oh, what an idiot I was.
Well, I mean, I guess I would challenge you a little bit on it not being scientific. It certainly had scientific potential. I think the degree to which that becomes scientific then becomes on how systematic you try those same responses in other situations, and how well you document the responses that you get. And then again, taking that next step, taking the step of encoding it into numbers and doing a statistical analysis to see if there's a correlation.
Yeah. And I didn't document, like I should have documented how many rocks, how long we waited between throwing them, all these things. Didn't do any of it.
Sure.
But what I think may have been cool is that one thing takes hands to do, the tree knock, and the stone throwing takes hands. So to me, it was confirmation of at least whatever was back there. Could have been a human, I guess, but whatever was back there in those trees, in the dark, at least had a hand, at least one.
Right. And then again, not in criticism of what you've done, but then you kind of set the stage for the fact that you were very isolated.
Yeah.
Okay. And that kind of helps you rule out other human kind of intervention.
Yep.
But
the only way to get there is by float plane,
Yeah. Okay.
Put it this way. If I got dropped off there and didn't get picked up, I would not attempt to walk out of there.
Okay.
No way. I would stay right there. I would never leave you. I don't think you'd ever make it.
Sure. I got a good confirmation bias story that might be connected to that. Would that be okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. On one of my expeditions, again, we typically go out in threes or more, but we were sitting on a point out overlooking a valley, and one of us was positioned at 12 o'clock, the other positioned at 2 to 3 o'clock, and the other positioned at 10 to 9 o'clock or 10 to 11 o'clock, so that we could have a thorough view. As we're looking out over there, I look up and I see what I think is a firefly in the air. But you know how fireflies, they just kind of slowly move around and up and down and so on and so forth. This thing was going back and forth and up and doing loops and so on and so forth. And
okay, just hang on now. Now you're was it a firefly?
Well, that's the moral
of the story. Okay, keep going.
So as I'm watching that, the person sitting at 12 o'clock said, look at that little light up in there in the sky. I said, yeah, I think it's a firefly. I think, it looked to me like it was in the throes of death, dying. And so we both start watching the firefly. And again, it's doing loop-de-loops and zigzagging, but all the time slowly making its way down to the ground. And the millisecond it hit the ground, the light went out. And the guy in the center, who was the leader of our subgroup, said, that was no firefly. That was a mini orb. A mini orb. It just absorbed right down into the ground. Write it down. Document A mini orb, it was my job to document what we were seeing. Document what you saw in the time. That was a mini orb. No, that was just a firefly dying. Well, no, it was a mini orb. Put it down. So this was early on in my expedition career. And I said, okay, this guy's been doing this for a long, long time. I'll put it down.
Okay.
So about 3 minutes pass, and we're sitting there after I document it. And just coincidentally, we both looked down onto the ground at the same time, where we saw the mini orb absorb into the ground. And that darn lightning bug flashed up and lit up again and started blinking again. And so we both realized, of course, it wasn't a mini orb. It was a dying firefly. The point being, though, if your mind is set, it's confirmation bias. If you're looking for mini orbs, you're going to process that experience into a mini orb being absorbed into the ground. If you don't have confidence in your experience in your background, that leader bias, group leader bias can influence that. It influenced me, even though I was skeptical. I still wrote it down as a mini orb because I was the rookie in the group. Okay. Yeah. So not only do we have our own confirmation bias and others, but social influence by status within the group makes us more likely to accept other people's interpretations and explanations of what just happened. Yeah. And that influences our perception as well.
Yeah, like no doubt I influenced other people's, perceptions of, the tree knock, the rocks, there's no doubt I did. Sure. Alex, can you put up Amy Boo's comment, the scientific method? She writes, it's up a little ways. It's a really good comment because it is tedious. Do you want to comment on that, John?
Well, yeah, I think that's an awesome comment. I, like many other people, got into Bigfoot research because I want to see a Bigfoot. Yeah. That's my priority when I go out on an expedition. I want to have a Class A experience, and that's what I'm looking for. And in my book, I talk about the Burger brothers, burger as in eating burgers and beer. They don't want to use the scientific method, and because it is tedious. The first step in the scientific method is generating what's called an a priori hypothesis. What's the question you're going to answer? Does Bigfoot exist? Is the main a priori hypothesis. He exists. Yes. The hypothesis is that they do or they don't. Then we go out into the field and we have all these, barring a close type A or Class A experience, we have all these experiences that we make notes of, thinking that they're likely attributable to Bigfoot. Some of them could be. Many of them aren't. If you hear a Bigfoot in the wilderness, it may not be a Bigfoot. Okay? It may be, but it may not be. And so where the scientific method comes in then is we develop the hypothesis that Bigfoots make tree knocks or Bigfoots are interdimensional creatures. Well, once you generate that hypothesis, the next step in the scientific method is to retest that hypothesis in other locations, in other areas, in the same way that you tested in the first area. And you get results that either confirm or deny that hypothesis. But so often what happens in Bigfoot field research, we skip the step of testing hypotheses repeatedly, and we jumped from the observation to the theory. I turned around and I saw Bigfoot 5 feet in front of me, and I blinked my eyes and it was gone.
Yeah.
That means they're interdimensional creatures.
I literally heard that 2 days ago.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
That means they're interdimensional creatures. So then that person takes that confirmation bias and goes around, and every time it disappears real quick, that confirms that they're interdimensional creatures rather than, and so they develop that theory without consistently testing out the hypotheses, doing the statistical analysis to see if it's true or not, and then independently conducting the research in other areas, verifying that hypothesis until that hypothesis is consistently proven true. And that then moves into a Bigfoot theory. And then when that Bigfoot theory is consistently validated, that becomes a Bigfoot law. We jump from observation to theory and law like that. And let me say this before I alienate any of our woo listeners. I remain open to woo phenomena, and I'm not poo-pooing the notion of a Bigfoot disappearing into another dimension. Okay. Certainly with string theory and other physics sciences, it's theoretically possible, if nothing else. Interdimensional creatures, I think, are theoretically possible. So I think we got to keep an open mind to that. Just because we can't see something doesn't mean it doesn't happen or it doesn't exist. Where would we be in science if back in the, I don't know if it was just in the Dark Ages, but there were these things called germs. We're gonna bloodlet you with a leech. More leeches, and that'll get you better. The concept of a germ didn't exist because they couldn't be seen. Till finally somebody started studying that and hypothesizing about that. And then they discovered germs, and lo and behold, germs cause illness and disease. Well, if we don't remain open to all possibilities, we run the risk of committing that same error. Just because we can't see it doesn't mean it's not happening.
Yeah.
Mind speak is another example of this. I was at a Bigfoot conference with a very esteemed panel. And somebody in the audience raised their hand and said, "What about mind speak and Bigfoots?" And the guy who answered it sat forward in his chair and stayed still intently and said, "Did you get my answer?" And we got a big laugh, But what I call that is incredulity bias. And I think it's one of the original thoughts in my book. When we have an experience that's so far out of our realm of knowledge and our realm of understanding of what reality is, oftentimes our immediate response is, well, that can't be real. There's no way. That can't happen in any circumstances. And so we get incredulous and feel incredulity at the thought that, something like that can happen. And I think one of the things that the woo community suffers from in terms of bias is that incredulity experience, because I think there are probably a lot more biologic people out there than there are woo theorists out there. And I'm not saying I believe or disbelieve in woo. I'm just arguing for, as scientists, if we're going to be scientific, We got to remain open and as unbiased as we can to the possibility and generate some experiments to figure it out. I've got some ideas for an experiment to figure that out. It's not in my book, but my point is you can bring psychological science to bear to answer that question. I'm not sure if I've answered Amy's. I guess jump back to Amy's question. You know, most of us go out there. We want to have that experience and go back to camp and have a good old time talking about our experiences. We don't want to go through the drudgery of recording each individual knock, the number of seconds after we did the knock to when we got the response, how many responses we got. We then going back to the camp, going back to the lab, and translating those responses into numeric data so that we can then enter them into the computer and run a statistical analysis. And if we get the result we think, then go to another area and do the same thing. And it just becomes repetitious and tedious, and it can be not fun to do. And so it's not the same thing as just going out there, having your Class A, Class B, or Class C experience, making notes of it, and then remembering the area that happens so you can go back to it again in the hopes of having that experience again. Yeah.
What about just simple things like trying to collect hair, trying to collect, some other form of evidence? Is there preparation one should do before they try to collect photographic, evidence?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? I was reading Amy's response.
No, that's fine.
Would you read it out loud? I think
you're doing
good.
just what Alex does all the time. Alex does the same thing all the time. I'll be talking, he'll be like glazed over. Okay. If you're going to go out and collect evidence, like your purpose is to collect physical or video evidence, what should you do to prepare to make, let's say, your video evidence more accepted by the world? What can a person do? Let's just talk about photographic evidence. One, I would think, my only advice would be go after video versus still photos. Mm-hmm. But what can they do to make their footage more credible?
That's a good question. I am far from a photographic video or audio expert.
Okay.
I think, as you do when you make one of your awesome shows, invest as much as your money as you can into the best equipment that you can so that you can get the highest fidelity, be it visual fidelity or auditory fidelity. So again, I think having good quality. I think taking more than one shot of the phenomena that you're observing from different positions, so that the different angles converge on what it is that you're seeing, so that it's just not, again, pareidolia, just
right.
You're
The photogrammetry would be able to determine the size of the creature, the height, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Boy,
GPS would it be helpful to get GPS coordinates documented? Daytime, documenting the time and day if it's
I think in general, getting as many details as you can and making note of them would also be very important. Time of day, season, air temperature, location, GPS coordinates, all, as minute detail as you can get, so that you can continue to collect those details when you have those other experiences. The problem that I have with video and photographs, and in fact on Facebook, I pretty much just stopped looking at them, because ultimately the debate comes down to logic, unless it's something just crystal clear and you're up close and personal. Whether it's legitimately or a Bigfoot or not, still boils down to logic and reasoning and debate. And again, logic, reasoning, and debate, while, you can win a debate, again, oftentimes those debates are based on our perceptions and our biases and may or may not be the correct answer. And so, witness the Patterson-Gimlin film. The first time I saw that as a kid, initially, this is the evidence that Bigfoot exists, and it was accepted. Then the debunkers came in, and it was discredited. It's a hoax.
Yeah.
I was commenting earlier, to this day, the light skin around the eyes and looks just like somebody cut out a mask right around the eyes so that they could see. It looks like a mask to me. Okay. I'm not saying it is, but we've gone from accepting it to debunking it to accepting it to debunking it. And now it's the gold standard. And so, fortunately over the years, video techies, and I think part of the reason why it's called the gold standard now is the analyses that can be done digitally go a long, long way to answering a lot of the questions about whether it was faked or not.
Yeah.
So as technology advances, we get additional information that can prove or disprove it. But to the common Facebook viewer, I mean, every day there are hundreds of new videos on Facebook and other platforms of people claiming to see Bigfoot. And more often than not, it's a blurry picture. And, I know we're in trouble when they've got to circle and outline the Bigfoot so that you can't see it. If you've got to do that, the hopes of that kind of evidence ever becoming scientific proof that Bigfoot exists are zilch.
Yeah, I tell people there's no value.
Right. So I don't find. I'm sorry, Alex. What?
The blob squatches.
Yeah, the blob squatches. I just don't think video evidence has much validity and reliability, and so I don't invest much time in it these days, because if you're going to invest the time in it, then you got to invest the time in the debate and the analysis, and that oftentimes becomes a contest of, I'm better than you, or whatever the case may be. And again, that's not to discourage people from doing it, but there's also, I'm blocking on the gentleman's name. I think he works out of Canada or British Columbia. Jeff Meldrum did one of his expeditions.
Yeah.
They didn't see anything, but this guy's got these crystal clear, uptight images.
Yep, we know who you're talking about.
Yeah. And so the irony of that is we always complain about blob squatches, but the lesson, whether he's a hoaxer or not, the underlying message there is the more crystal clear and better the image you get, that can be just as damaging as the blob squatch image.
Well, but in those cases, there's no context ahead of it, no context after it. There's no audio. You know what I mean? Generally, to me, video, there should be a reactionary audio. There should be a beginning and an end to it, not just a face. Here's how did it resolve? Well, right away, it's going to raise a jillion red flags, and you get too many red flags, my book, you're toast. But I do, I always tell people, if you can get National Geographic quality video, it's going to go a long way. It did happen with when Bob and Roger shot that creature out in the open. I mean, it was out in the open. It's unobscured. It's not hidden by branches.
Yeah. And unless I'm misunderstood to be saying that I don't think Patty is a genuine Bigfoot. I'm not questioning the validity of that. I do think that is excellent video of a Bigfoot. But
I've been telling people to go back to 16 millimeter film. Go back to because it's if you go to a spring line camera, load it with 16 millimeter film or even 35 millimeter. The point is you can pull the trigger. I have a spring wind that I found on eBay, 35 millimeter film camera. It's called the Lunchbox. Simple, it's trouble-free, it's lightweight. Pull a trigger and the thing's filming. Fixed focus lens. That's, to me, the way to get footage because, man, you can do something. You got a down there a million lines of resolution, and it's not a bunch of digital, crap. And there's no reason not for Bigfooters to go back to film again because, I'm sorry, these little lenses on these phones are 3.6 millimeter. They're wide angle. They're crap. Some object out in the distance, John, is going to be a little dot.
Right.
It's better than nothing. I agree, but I hate it when I hear, well, everybody's got a phone. By now we should have tons of footage of Bigfoot. Well, not really. We've kind of gone the wrong direction. These are great for selfies. So, if you can get a Bigfoot within 3 feet of you, perfect. Yeah. Your cell phone's the perfect tool. But beyond that, it's not. It's just not. So, what about fear? Dealing with fear? We haven't really talked about that.
Sure.
Psyching yourself up and dealing with fear and planning ahead.
So, besides being a neuropsychologist, I've also worked as a clinical psychologist and treated lots of people with post-traumatic stress disorder. And let me tell you, there are a lot of people out there that have had Class A encounters that develop post-traumatic stress disorder as a result. That fight-flight reaction kicks in. You either want to fight or run, or sometimes people freeze stiff. They can't move. And those kinds of experiences, you're face to face with what a beast that's not supposed to exist. And when you're seeing it, you're realizing it's an apex predator and your life is in danger. There's a threat to your life potentially.
Yeah,
that can create trauma. And so I've met a lot of people who have PTSD, whether they recognize it or not, as a result of their trauma. In my book, I outline how you can reprogram your fight-flight response so that you're less likely to have a traumatic experience. Or if you've had a traumatic experience, to reprogram that traumatic experience so that it's not as disconcerting and emotional for you. And part of that involves first getting really good at learning to relax. At the risk of plugging my book too much, in my book, I have relaxation scripts that you can record into your tape recorder and just play them so that you don't have to go out and buy a relaxation or get a relaxation app or get a relaxation tape. But first thing, you've got to practice getting good and deeply relaxed. Once you can get good at getting deeply relaxed and staying deeply relaxed, as you're doing that practice, you're making a list of the trauma you experienced or the events you're anticipating experiencing. And again, I make my own examples of my Bigfoot stress inoculation list. This process is called stress inoculation. You get an inoculation, they give you a little bit of the germ that is causing the disease or the reaction, and your body builds an immunity to it. Well, that's what we're doing with Bigfoot encounters or any kind of traumatic experience. We're exposing you to low levels of that type of stress until you're able to use the relaxation to stay calm as you run a mental movie of that least stressful experience from beginning to end, and you can stay calm and relaxed throughout that whole mental movie or imaginary scenario. Once at the weakest one, you can stay calm and relaxed, you then go up to one that's slightly stronger. And you run that mental movie or scenario until you can stay completely relaxed throughout it. And then you move up to the next one up in the list. So your list starts with the least emotionally or stress-related responses up to the highest stress-related response, that being seeing a Bigfoot at 15 feet, hearing him growl, and taking a step towards you. Even if you learn to relax well, if you start with that most intense experience, however, you're likely to have failed. You're likely going to fail because that's going to become an overwhelming response, and you haven't taken the time to gradually inoculate yourself from the weaker stressful images or stressful activities to the highest. So you got to start with the weak stress responders and slowly work yourself up. And as you do so, what you're changing is that fight-flight reaction. Because in the fight-flight reaction, there's an on switch and there's an off switch. And as you get calm and relaxed in those stressful situations, you can learn to turn on the off switch, if you will. You can learn to calm yourself down and stay calm in situations that used to be traumatic or trigger lots of stress. And so, going through a stress inoculation procedure, getting relaxed and having a positive visual imaginary daydream of something happening Bigfoot related that is innocuous or benign. And then again, gradually working your way up to more stressful kinds of things. I also talk about how to use and teach people how to use self-hypnosis to learn to calm their autonomic reactivity to Bigfoot encounters. That's the cognitive and emotional preparation that's got to be done. The original title of my book was Bigfoot Prep, a primer for preparing yourself for Bigfoot field work. I wanted to give people the knowledge and the skills to be able to have a good toolbox and prepare themselves for that process so that they can be most successful in it.
Yeah. I want to ask you about how we scientifically trap a Bigfoot. You talk about it in your chapter 9, in the keyword scientifically trap. Not physically in a barred cage, but can you explain?
Sure. Well, that comes back to your experimental design, and it seems like I'll drop back from the counterbalancing design to just the first example I gave, just sticking with tree knocks. Again, we've got 3 areas. One area where Bigfoot doesn't, we know they don't exist.
Yeah.
One area where they might, or sometimes are, sometimes aren't. And another area where they know they exist. And you make 50 tree knocks in one area, same time of day, same season. Getting all those details we were talking about earlier. You go to that transitional area and make those tree knocks same time of day, same season, using the same knocker on the same type of tree. And then you go to Times Square and make those tree knocks same time of day, same season, using the same materials. And it's the statistical analysis, when you combine it with that experimental design, that actually traps the phenomena of Bigfoot. Because when we compare what would we expect based on that? Would you expect to hear the most tree knock responses in Times Square?
Yes.
If Bigfoot exists, there better not be any tree knock responses in Times Square. Okay. Would you expect tree knocks to come back in the transitional area? Yeah, you would. But logically, wouldn't you predict that you should get the most tree knock responses from an area where that's a habituation area that's isolated, like Area X, that has very few human inhabitants? But that middle ground, the transitional area where there might be Bigfoots, but there are also humans, through the statistical analysis, you can then parcel out the human influence.
Yeah.
So that you can eliminate whether humans are making the tree knocks through that experimental design, because you've got two test environments where if there's a knock coming, it's going to be human in Times Square, or it's going to be human or Bigfoot in the transitional area, where it should only be Bigfoot in the habituation area. So through that statistical analysis, we can narrow down the tree knocks and identify and trap Bigfoot and know that they're the ones making the tree knocks, because the analysis allows us to cut out the human influence of the tree knocks.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does in its own vague way, I guess.
Okay.
I'm not sure that tree knocking is maybe the best example.
Sure.
One of the experiments that we're going to be doing is analyzing the skin oil, because there are already scientific studies on, orangs and gorillas and, bonobos and chimps and blah, blah, blah. So they know that the content of their skin oil. And we've collected what we think, keyword think, could be Bigfoot skin oil. And so if it gets analyzed in the same way and it comes out different, that's going to be real interesting, but it really won't prove anything correct until scientists can go out and collect it again on their own and compare it, once again, compare it to the Sasquatch skin oil and see if it doesn't match anything. I mean, is there something you could expound on with that example versus the tree knocks?
Sure. Well, in both examples, you have a group of data that is your controlled data. You're sampling.
Right, yes.
You're sampling from Bigfoot, but you're also sampling from other non-Bigfoot
Well, because it's already been done,
oil.
John. Okay, that's already been done. Would that be something that has to be repeated again? Collecting human sebum and.
Yeah, I think, in science, one result doesn't prove a thing.
Yeah.
Part of the scientific method is replicating those results over and over again in different locations of the country.
Is there a set amount of times that needs to be replicated?
It depends on the type of data that you're using and the strength. There's something called effect size in statistics, which is how potent or how common is the or how available or frequently available is the data that you're gathering. And so I'm not sure how readily available those oils are. This to me in some ways harken back to Melba Ketchum's study in terms of having to control how it's collected, making sure you got certain procedures in place so that everybody collects that in the same fashion with the same sterile kind of settings. So you've got to control for all those extraneous or external variables that could cause it to be contaminated. And then those same procedures have to be used every time that's done in all the different locations that it's done across the nation. So that ultimately you're getting a good sample. Part of the other answer to your question is how do you know when it's enough?
Yeah.
Again, that's what your statistics will tell you. Our statistics give us numbers that there's only a 5 out of 100 chance that this could be due to a random effect. 15 out of 100 chances that this could be due to random error. 1 out of 100 chances that it could be due to random error. So understanding how likely it is that the results you're getting and getting those results repeatedly could be due to random error also informs, are you ready to stop or not? I'm not sure if that's answering your question or not.
Sort of. Well, so what I'm thinking is the skin oil provides 3D evidence because it gives you the latent details, the whoops, the whirls, the skin pores. And if that's documented right, then you collect it for DNA and you collect it for skin oil. The skin oil, the different waxes that are in skin oil. Mm-hmm. And then whether is there cholesterol, is there this, there's quite a lot of chemicals, in our surface skin lipids. So, and then you get the DNA. I mean, you can literally, to me, it seems like one of the best ways that if this same thing can be collected over and over and over with the same method, with DNA, latent details, and the chemical compounds, it should be pretty powerful, this science. But what say you?
But what's what?
I'm just curious. What's your opinion, John, on that?
Yeah, I think that could be powerful evidence. I think that what we've got, there's something called convergent and divergent validity. When you have a X-ray to pick up something, they shoot that X-ray from one direction to see if it's there. And then they come from another direction to see if they see it, like we were talking about with the camera. And then they take it from another angle. And if all of these different angles show the same thing, that's going to increase the power and the validity of your study. And so I think that oils, hair oils, DNA studies, I think those are very powerful tools that's going to go towards and help go towards proving the existence of Bigfoot. I think, however, that it has to go beyond that, that if that's the only data we're relying on, depending on the strength of the results, it may or may not be enough. And that's where other forms of data need to come to bear to end up pointing at that same target in the same direction. No one study or no one type of data should in and of itself be sufficient to the scientific community to prove it.
Okay, but my point is I'm not trying to prove it. I'm just trying to get others to prove it. I'm trying to give them some fuel to get them off their duffs to do something that they feel they maybe could do, to raise the bar.
Sure.
By the way, Alex, put Janky's comment up. Could the oil be at a poser? I don't even know how to pronounce it. I know what it means because that's natural gray waxy crap from like dead bodies or it could be from a dead deer, it could be from anything. I don't know. That's a great question. Don't know. But that could be, one reason that they're leaving these waxy fingerprints. We don't know. But the skin oil they're leaving, John, is much thicker. It seems to be much thicker than human sebum. It seems to be a whitish grayish color, which matches, the description of this decaying matter. So who knows? It's going to be interesting.
And then, what would be the control variables for that? Would that be compared to human oils, to other primate
Well, that would be yes.
oils?
I mean, that would be the best control, because if these things appear in a campsite on a car window, obviously we know there's no orangs in the Gifford Pinchot National Forest. We know there's no gorillas. We know there's no pan. There's none of these things, only humans. So it would be human would be the control.
Yeah. And, one of the kind of dark clouds psychology has existed under for a lot of years is it's always been called a soft science compared to chemistry and physics. And, again, that just I think your idea is awesome. I think that's an awesome study. I think it's important study and data to gather. But if our goal is to target the true scientific community, I think it's going to require more. I think that one source of data.
Well, that's where I'm going to disagree. That's where I'm going to disagree 1,000%. Because if this stuff doesn't get out in the media, science, and give them ideas, ain't going to happen. And I know damn well there'd never been a Bigfoot, any Bigfoot programs ever that didn't intrigue people, scientists, including the people like in Zubuk in Amy's group. You wouldn't have gone on that expedition because there'd been no interest. Something convinced you saw in the media that maybe this is worth spending a little bit of my time doing because you are a scientist. That's why it's wonderful to have you face to face and say something affected you. You saw it could have been the Patterson-Gimlin. It still wasn't a documentary. It was at a movie theater. It was media that got you to look at it, which is entertainment. And I do feel that in Legend Meets Science, we can provide a whole bunch of strong, soft science that they go, hey, maybe. Now, then it can get the attention of guys like you.
Sure.
That may be able to get a grant,
Yeah. Well, I don't know that I'll ever be part of the science that makes that judgment for the larger community.
No, but you could be. You don't know.
But I think and again, this is the point that we're disagreeing on. But you use the word bunch. We need to get a bunch of data and a bunch of studies. And I'm not privy to everything that's being done in Legend Meets Science too. But I suspect you're not just going to be looking at this oil study.
No,
you're going to be looking at other forms of evidence and studies to hit that same target. And I think that's where my argument of, the studies need to come from multiple directions to hit that target, to elevate it to the level of the hard sciences and gaining acceptance there.
Well, I just, once again, I'm just going to try to raise the bar. There's nothing I'm going to do.
Sure.
That I can, the DNA could come from 2 different labs with a scientific paper. It still will not prove anything.
Sure.
But it may catch the attention of somebody who now has the power to do that, to repeat it.
And for what it's worth, that is the same vein in which my book was written. Ultimately,
right?
That's why I call it psychological horizons. We're looking at the horizon and seeing the possibility in the future. But not too many people have read my book. It's kind of lengthy and wordy and doesn't have too many pictures in it. And so at this point, it's just a horizon. It's gonna take other people picking up that sword and running with it and applying those technologies,
right?
Because I'm only one man and I can only do so much. And so somebody's going to have to run with it to make it beneficial.
Yeah. I just noticed the time. I'm like, oh my God, it's almost 30 minutes after 9, and we're almost a half hour running over.
Wow.
So let's wrap it up. Let's get his book up, Alex.
Yeah, John, where can people find your book?
On Amazon. It's for sale on the very last slide, Alex, actually shows my book cover front and back.
I can hold it up too. I've got a copy in my hand. So here's the book. It's a thick book. There we go. It's a thick book and it's glossy. It's a beautiful book. And it's got a lot of information
or second to last slide
in the book. So it's actually already becoming one of my favorite books.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm honored that you feel that way about it.
Well, because think about it. What I'm doing is, kind of goes along with your book, what I'm trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Keyword trying.
Sure. Putting out ideas and inspiring others to take up the gauntlet, so to speak.
Yeah. So.
Absolutely.
It's important. And I know you were sick tonight. Nobody even noticed, but I'm going to say it. Thank you so much for coming on, because I know you got the flu. John's got a fever. He's got everything going on.
Better living through chemicals.
Yes. Better living through NyQuil. Dayquil, whatever you took.
Yeah. Thank you.
But man, you powered through this thing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
And I have a feeling you're going to be on all sorts of podcasts.
Yeah, this is great.
After this, you better get prepared.
Well, for the record, no, not the no, further down, way down at the bottom. This I have been on 2 previous podcasts with C. Wayne Tothero and Manimal Research.
Oh, I didn't know.
Again, I'm sure you would have never known it, all the hand holding you had to do. But I do have those, and those are available in YouTube on or at the Manimal Research site. They use StreamYard as well.
Well, there's a lot of other topics I would have liked to discuss. I mean, we can do some of that privately too, John.
Sure.
Like to get you involved on some level on Ledge of Meat Science.
Oh boy, that would be incredibly awesome. And again, I'd be honored to help.
I also think you also, Amy needs to contact you to get you involved in Zoo Book.
Yeah, well, I met Amy for the first time at the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference, and she actually invited me to be a member of that, and I forget what went wrong when the first time we were scheduled to meet. For some reason, I wasn't able to do that.
Yeah,
something got in the way, but I think that she's awesome, and that's an awesome group that she's running.
I'll help make that happen, John. Well,
sure.
I know. It's all it takes is one misstep, and next thing you know, you all lose track of each other because we're all busy.
We stay in touch. We stay in touch on Facebook, and when we bump into each other on conferences as well.
Yeah, I'd like to see you in there. Be kind of cool.
Cool.
Be cool. But thank you so much, everybody in chat, and Robert and Eyes in the Wood and Julie Wheeler and Amy and Catherine Forefeathers, and who else we've got in here? We've got Finding the Trackway. My scrolling thing isn't working. Steve Blanton and Flat Rockland and Channel 13 and of course Charlotte J and Janky and Uncle Bones, and goes on, including who else? No. It's just so many people. It's hard to give them all recognition. But thank you, everybody, and
thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Alex. Thank you, John. It was a great honor, and we're definitely gonna have you back. You were awesome, and yeah, you do have a radio voice, dude.
Oh well, thanks.
Yeah,
I look forward to coming back and talking.
We'll have you back
more.
for sure. Thanks, and good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
I call you up in the middle of the night, been bothered by dreams, ain't feeling alright. You give me comfort, say just give it some time. By the end of our talk, I'm feeling just fine. You and I will always know where we belong. This ain't no ordinary love we got going on. I'll pick you up in my 59 Ford. We head on down the road until we get bored. Just you and me and the sun and the wind. If the rain should stop falling, we'll head on home again. Everybody else can see where we belong. Oh, ain't no ordinary love we got going on. At the end of the world, together forever is one, and I'll wait. If ever you should be in doubt, and I'll pray they never can pull us apart, and I'll wait for the time when we'll be together every day. But I know if ever we'll be led astray, that I'll find my way back home to you again. At the end of the world, together forever is one, and I'll wait. If ever you should be in doubt, and I pray they never can pull us apart, and I'll wait. At the end of the world, together forever is one, and I'll wait. If ever you should be in doubt,